What is going on, everybody? I am here with Andrew today. As always, great to have you around.
Thank you for having me.
Dude, no problem. We just wrapped up a Force on Force class that Andrew is kind of mashing together and tweaking and this and that, and I had a blast. It was so much fun. If you watched the Patreon stream last night, you know how much fun I had. I was already talking about it that whole night until you guys showed up, and then I let you guys talk about it. But anyway, so you're getting ready to head out today, and you were like, hey, we should sit down and talk about some stuff. So
I love doing videos with you guys whenever I'm here. So yeah.
Easy peasy, man. So you were kind of tossing out some ideas and everything like that, but what I know earlier you mentioned Force on Force, which we've talked a bunch about, but what's on your mind?
So I was just thinking about like the importance of doing classes outside of the shooting classes, because like guys love coming to fighting pistol because they know they get to shoot a pistol a bunch. Even Jaeger said we put 1,000 rounds on the gear list to get you to come to the mindset lecture,
right?
Which is, especially after you take the class several times, that does become many people's favorite part. But even more so, once they do classes outside of shooting classes, then that mindset lecture marinates better. It takes, you're able to take in more information from it. Like for me, doing the fight and having weirdo encounters at the gas station in Dade City, Florida, that made it like, okay, now I see the things more that he talks about in the lecture.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about talking about today stuff outside of the just shooting classes. So Force on Force, medical, low light, hand-to-hand stuff, and just kind of like exploring like the importance of that, because I think a lot of people who haven't come here to train before, they think that's what it is. It's just how to shoot gun, how to reload gun.
Right. Yeah.
So, Joey, for you, what was like outside of a shooting class? What was like kind of like the stuff you did initially that made you go like, oh, it's not just about the shooting part?
Okay.
Can you remember?
Yeah. So, for me personally, the mindset lecture, of course, is so I know that's a shooting class, or it's a fighting class, mindset and stuff like that. But hearing the mindset lecture all those years ago was like, oh, this isn't just about being good at shooting the gun.
Right.
But if we branch outside of fighting pistol, and much like the first time I took the fight, I mean, you think like you take a class like fighting pistol where you get very good at drawing your gun, shooting it, and then you get the mindset lecture and you're like, oh, like I've got this. This is going to be easy. Like I'm ready for this gunfight. And then you take the fight and you're like, I don't know what to do with my hands. Why are you so mean? Like all that stuff.
Why are the cops mad at me? I told them I was a good guy.
Yeah, I told him. I had to shoot. He was making a move. I had to get it on, But yeah, no, I mean, it's all of that. So the fight was a big eye opener. And in particular, the thing that stood out to me in that class, there's one scenario in particular, and I don't want to say the name of it, but it's one where you are not put into a good situation. The lessons we teach are about lines in the sand. Yeah. And I don't know if you know which one it is, but you need a deposit slip. And anyway, so some things happen, and that was I was like, oh, this isn't about. Like, it doesn't matter how good I am, what my split times are, what my draw time is. If I give up these things, I will not be able to overcome them.
Right.
So
yeah. And it's because like the decision making in that class, that's the way I describe the fight is it's a decision making class. It's not a shooting class or even a fighting class. Really, that part matters a lot. But it's what matters even more is like, why did you do that?
Yep.
What could you have done differently? And the big lessons in there. And then like for me, it made me think about what my priorities were, as in who am I willing to kill for? Who am I willing to die for? Who am I willing to go to the hospital for? Who am I willing to go to jail for? Who am I willing to be put on the news, and just made into the bad guy and no one wants to talk to me for the rest of my life for?
Right.
And that made thinking about that stuff made the fight continues a lot better.
Right.
Because the way I describe Fight Continues is like, yeah, it's like the fight, but there's a lot less black and white. You know, they're harder decisions to make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, so for you, flip that question back to you. Like, what was your first experience with a class where you were like, oh, like, open that worldview up?
Yeah. So for me, it was the fight also. Yeah. Well, actually, no, because we were actually at that like huge immediate action medical class where there was like almost like 30 people, because not a lot of people sign for medical. And that's why I think this is a good video to make, is people think, oh, I do the shooting stuff. Nah, I watched the video, or I did one medical class. I'm good,
Yeah.
So in there, back up a little bit. When I took Fighting Pistol, I got to meet James and talk to him. And I said I was going to take Advanced Fighting Pistol next. He said, you need to take me Action Medical. I was like, well, I done, Combat Lifesaver, CLS, TCCC class in the Marine Corps. I think, I'm good on that. And he's like, listen, you need to take Immediate Action Medical. And I was like, okay. All right. I'm like, all right, I'm trying to be open-minded, so I will. I don't think I need it. I know I'm right, But then when I went there were things I discovered, like, and like things that I've shown people that you would think are medical professionals, because they literally are. But, professional, we think means that they're super good at stuff. It really means they get paid to do stuff.
Right.
So we've all met professionals that are not good at stuff. Professionals, and it's not to dog on anyone. It's just like, hey, it's just the way things are. So things I learned in Immediate Action Medical that were a big eye opener for me, to make me, like humble me, make me realize, oh, I do need to get better, is well, number one, I wasn't good at tourniquets.
Right.
Number two, they showed us how to reset the tourniquet. Such a simple thing, right?
Right.
You would think.
Yeah.
Because you're here.
Yeah.
They didn't show us that in the Marine Corps. And so I put tourniquets in as like a standard thing we do in class, in shooting classes. And it's for this same purpose, is I want people to go, oh, dude, I need a medical class, and that thing is hard, and I need to learn how to do that well. And I'm like, yeah, like this is the one thing where you can just get good at it after this, and it could save your life. And I tell them too, it's like, if you bleed to death because you choose not to practice, that's completely your fault. Also, if someone else bleeds to death because you choose not to practice this, that's your fault. So like resetting the tourniquet, man, I used to think that it took 15 rotations on a cat tourniquet to get it tight, and that's why those are garbage and I don't want it. And at the time, I actually preferred the rats because of that. Now, when I came to class and they showed us to reset it, and I was like, oh, and then it takes me like 3 rotations at most to get it tight when I do a good job. And then I go, oh man, I was dumb about that. And then I also learned that, like, oh, I'm putting gaps in my rat's tourniquet. Like the high and tight I understood, but there were gaps. So I wasn't doing a good job at applying it. So like, it was funny. I talked to Kayla. I'm like, I actually took down my rats video. She's like, why were you talking shit? I was like, no, it's because I did it wrong. Like, I don't want that example out there for people to follow.
Right.
And so that was a big eye opener. And then it was like, keep your head up while you apply this. Struggle. And you know what? Like, it makes me look at, whenever I watch a video of someone applying a tourniquet, they're looking at, I'm like, that dude sucks at applying a tourniquet. It also makes me think, like, whenever you see that white time tab over like on a cat tourniquet, I go, he does not practice tourniquets. Because if he did, he would take that shit off.
Right.
Like he would set it to the side somewhere. And so, like just that alone in tourniquets was a big deal, but also like realizing, no, I wasn't 100% clear on what I need to do on medical. Like there would have been delays if I had to do something and had to address certain situations. And if I did do anything, I would have been sucked into the thing I was doing. I wouldn't have had any situational awareness. Now, you always hear those NPC cliches like, oh, well, you only put a tourniquet on when all the bad guys are down. Like, okay, hopefully.
Yeah.
Did you go kill every bad guy in the world? Did you go check that guy's pulse? Like, when they talked about keeping your head up, and it made me think about the first time only time I did a ride along, and we came up on a dude who was shot I thought he was dead.
Mm-hmm.
He stood right back up and went, "Oh fuck, I've been shot. I gotta get out of here," and started booking it.
Damn.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was like The Walking Dead. And I've heard many other stories of stuff like that. Specifically, there's a Marine that I plan on doing a video with, and hopefully you guys get a chance to too. And the story I've heard, this is third party me hearing it, but he is paralyzed in a wheelchair for the rest of his life because he was trying to retain an empty magazine. And that dude got back up.
Damn.
So, there were so many important lessons in there. And that's like kind of thing where, like we were talking about last night, someone will say it's a good class. Like, oh, it's an awesome class. You need to take it. Doesn't fucking mean anything. But when I say like, some of these classes will open your eyes and change the way you think about everything. That's what I'm talking about. That's why I want to make this video. So that was a big like, oh shit, okay, I need to, change the way I do all this. I didn't do nearly as good in medical as I thought I did. I mean, it wasn't horrible. It's just like my expectations was I was going to be a rock star. I was not a rock star. And then the fight, I was like, okay, I think I got this. Like, because now I got the medical down. I'm definitely good at shooting.
Yep.
Not a shooting class.
No.
Decision-making class.
Yeah.
So, shot the wrong person. That happened. Put myself in fights I didn't need to be in.
Yeah.
Very humbling. Even it was hard too because as you remember, Ashley was there with me.
Yeah.
Thank God the scenario where she was watching me, I did good.
yeah, absolutely.
Dude, that would be rough. Like you're like, oh, I thought you were,
oh yeah,
I didn't know you were a pussy, but I had one scenario where me looking for a gunfight got me in a gunfight, and I realized like. And then I would have lost that gunfight hard. Like the role players weren't as hard on me because they're trying to push you towards a better decision.
Right.
But if they were like real bad guys, they would have fucking killed me.
Yeah.
And so then I had to go sit next to Ashley after that. And dude, I couldn't even like look at her. Like I felt terrible. I'm like, dude, I'm not going home to my kid. I'm not going home to you. Like I'm gone because I was a dumbass.
Right.
And that's it. But failure is such a good teacher. It's the best teacher you could possibly have. And so like for guys watching, don't be afraid of it. Like, dude, you want to fail in class. That is awesome. Even like when I just did fighting revolver, backup gun, awesome classes. They're shooting classes, but they're outside the normal shooting classes that you would take. So I liked them specifically because of that. But even in there, I was not pushing accuracy. I was like pushing, like, I'm going to shoot as hard and fast as I possibly can. And if I miss like crazy, I'm going to adjust to that. I'm going to know how to practice better.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, so not to get off on too much on a skill tangent, but Farnham says you should have 80% hits and 20% misses. And he says, that's how you know that you're pushing yourself at an appropriate level. So when you go to a class and you just sit there and you shoot out the A, you're not really learning anything. So yeah, pushing yourself, trying to find those limits. But it's bringing up medical. When I took medical, I started this whole thing, and I know you know this, but I had no experience, like none. I had no idea about guns. I had no idea about medical stuff. I'd never had any type of training at all before I started taking classes here. And that medical class was like such an eye-opener for me because I had no idea. I was such a naive kid. I had no idea that someone could die in minutes from a cut, from arterial bleed, and things like that, and I had just like Heather and I were just having Bane. So like now I have like this wife and kid that I need to protect and stuff like that.
You have the responsibility fucking weight drop on you, and then you go, oh wait, this is hard to like protect him also. And then it like quadruples.
Exactly.
Man, yeah. Well, it's same thing though, because like you're saying, oh man, I was naive and I hadn't done anything. Dude, I had gone to Afghanistan and like been in the Marine Corps infantry and shit. here I am, like, tactical response to the place that made me carry a gun. Tactical response to the place that made me carry medical. And so, like, all this shit came from, like, being here. So even though you're like, I didn't know anything going into it, you're better prepared than most motherfuckers out there, including combat vets.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons why, like, I get so annoyed when veterans go off on people. I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, especially when they go off on people who train here. Cause I'm like, I would rather take that dude who comes here, because I see how these people are, like Sam out there. Like, try to catch that dude without an AK within arm's reach of him. Like, I don't think he can sleep without it, you know?
Right.
And everyone, like, okay, not everyone, because, you know, everyone comes here, but like the core students, oh my God, dude, they're so well prepared. They're so caring. Like, I have people that I have met that I know I could go spend 3 months at their house and they would not get upset, you know?
Right.
What fucking place do you find that? You know, like Robert Gardner, one of your students that I was on a live stream, he found out about me, and now he's one of my students. He said, yeah, you can come over anytime, because we were talking about the hurricane. I was like, maybe Ashley will stop there. You can come over anytime, spend as much time as here. You're always welcome. I'm like, dude, yeah, you too, from my place. And the rest of the world ain't like that. And like, as far as like, you know, like you said, you went in, you know, like not knowing anything, but dude, because of that, you're probably better prepared. You didn't have other ideas in your head.
Right. Yeah. I didn't have any training scars to get over or anything like that. I was a fresh slate, but it was just such an eye-opening thing, especially, again, you take fighting pistol and you're like, oh, this is the last class I'll ever need for some people. Right. You know?
Yeah.
But then I took medical and I was like, shit, this is crazy. And then you go into the fight and you're like, okay, I've had pistol, I've had medical, I'm going to crush this, just like you were talking about. And it's funny, I still have, like, Calvin was one of the instructors when I took it. And there's so speaking of looking for a gunfight, we tell students all the time, like, hey, if you go look for a gunfight, you're probably going to find one. And I'm sitting there in this scenario, getting in this fight that I should not be in. And I just can always hear Calvin's voice, like, well, Mr. Joey, do you think we should still be here? And I was like, fuck, no, we shouldn't. And there's like bolt out of there and stuff. I mean, all like paint marking rounds all over me and stuff. I was like, fuck. So,
yeah. I think one of the relieving things was, like, when I role played, I'm like, oh, okay, everyone else is screwing up too. You know? Because it's even harder that, you know, you go in, you just see what you did. Maybe someone tells you what they did, but it's like, and then there's a discussion about it. But it's like, you get very hard on yourself over your decisions too. That makes it even harder. But again, guys, don't be afraid of it. Like, take it. Like, you need to take it. And then, you know, find someone you love, marry them, procreate with them, and then take the class while holding a baby doll, and now see how it changes. Right. That's one thing I want to do. I don't want to retake it because, you know, you know, it's about to be scary. But then again, if you're just chill about it and you don't worry about it, it makes it all easier. But I'd like to retake it with a baby doll, you know, like Kayla used to do, that she told me about.
So speaking of, and this is a more recent one for me. Speaking of like eye-opening things is ECQC for me. That was another big eye-opener because, again, this was a recent class. I've been training for a long time now. I mean, since so 12 years of me either taking classes here or taking the classes of the people who we are hosting, and then of course in the past 3 years, I've just been, if I'm not teaching a class, I feel like I'm taking one kind of thing. So anyway, I took ECQC. And again, just felt like I knew what to expect. Felt like I was going to do pretty good going into it. And then then you start the drill with the dudes like arms all the way around you, and it's like, and fight, and you're just like, shit, you know. And
hang on, this works on paper.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things. So I've talked about ECQC a bunch on this channel, a bunch on the live streams. But the difference between people who had either BJJ experience or wrestling experience, between the time to the gun, like guys like me who had no experience, as soon as you get any amount of pressure,
you want a gun out,
right?
Yep.
Whereas the guys who had those other options, they had much slower to go to the gun. You know,
that's something Sonny talks about because he talks about the hand-to-hand. And he says, you know, if the gun is your only option, that's what you'll do. And it's like, he's like, now do you really want to fucking kill someone over something because you couldn't handle it, because you chose to be, you know, fat and lazy and never practicing the hand-to-hand stuff? And then also he brings it back to you know, verbal de-escalation, his conflict management class. We did some of those scenarios. Oh my God, dude. It was like, okay, so you're in a bar, you know, that table full of 5 dudes, one of them grabbed your wife's ass. Now you need to, instead of exiting and having her not respect you because of that, you need to go make them apologize. Dude, and every time we role played, we're like, hey guys, don't like it when you do that. Shut the fuck up, bitch. You know, and like, so there's other role players being the table of drunk construction workers that are bigger than you, and so when I was role playing as the drunk guy, like Sonny would come up and he'd like get in your space, and he would intimidate you a little bit, but in a nice way, you know, and as we're trying to be like, fuck you, bitch, you know, and we're like, you know, and he'd say something, we're like, man, I can't even get mad at him now. And he's like, I want to apologize. You know? I mean, maybe that's because I'm not a real, you know,
right,
a scrote bag doing that. But like, it was crazy. It was another like eye opener. Now, I haven't done ECQC. I actually had a class like available that I was going to take, but I ended up giving that to Mike Fiore with Bulletin. And he got to take it. So I got to talk to him about it. But I did do Zack Bush's Definitive Training Solutions and Tangled Gunfighting. And yeah, the big thing for me there was like, dude, it doesn't matter. Like I was wrestling one of my students. He's an old guy, you know, a guy. I can't convince him to buy a fucking good holster. He still brought the Velcro thingy. And so it's like, you know, I'm like, well, I know I can dominate him with a gun. But guess what? As soon as he got on my back, dude, it was like, what would I do? And if he had a blade to him or just was allowed to punch me in the back of the head, like it could have wrecked me. Like I was trying everything I could, you know. I was able to shoot him a few times, but it wasn't lethal. It was in the leg, you know. Like, okay, maybe it was lethal, but it wasn't lethal right then. It wasn't immediately going to stop him. So what else for you at that class did you experience?
So again, the time difference being the big one, and I guess the other one, speaking of the verbal de-escalation and stuff like that, very similar scenario. Mistaken identity for me though. So he sets up this scenario where, you know, we're in the ring because he makes everybody form a circle. You're in the Thunderdome kind of thing, right? And he has another role player move in, and he'll actually pull other people in as role players depending on how the thing plays out. But again, even after taking things like the fight and the fight continues, this dude comes up and he's like, hey, you pinched my girl's ass. And I'm like, hey man, that wasn't me kind of thing, you know? And he's like, no, I fucking saw you do it. And I'm like, man, like mistaken identity. I promise, dude, it's not me. I know not to argue with a drunk dude, right? Of course.
but there you are.
But I just get stuck in this tape loop of it wasn't me, yada, yada, so on and so forth. And then it gets to a point of where Craig is like, hey, you know, you two go in there. And then like 2 more dudes run in and they're like, hey, is this the guy who touched your girl's ass? And now it's 3 dudes dogpiling me, like trying to get my gun from me. And I remember, I have never told this story before. I'm about to tell it on the internet. I can't believe I'm about to do it.
You don't have to.
I'm about to though.
Okay.
Because maybe I'll feel better because it like haunts me. It haunts me in my brain. So maybe, and I've never said it to anyone. So
that's why I said all my shit earlier about the fight. So I get it.
maybe it'll relieve some of the pressure. But anyway, so we're wrestling and stuff like that. Of course, a gun comes into play, and 2 of the dudes are like on top of me, and I'm trying to get back to my feet, and I make it to my feet, but the 3rd dude is standing there with a sim gun, like already aimed in. And I immediately forget about these guys, and like hands come up like this, and I'm just staring at that dude, and I could see Craig like over here in my peripheral, and he just goes like that. And then boom, 2 dudes from behind, and this. But luckily, the dude's gun jammed. It was a sim gun, so luckily there, you know. But like like that. I can picture it right now. Just saw Craig, and when I went like this, and he saw how focused I was on that dude and forgetting about those, just his head shake like this. I was like, I still think about it.
Well, dude, there's everyone goes through that because it's like you have to, like, failure's your biggest teacher. You know, it was just like when I was like, look at, yesterday, I was like, look at how the dude's legs are sticking out. All the guy has to do is go on the other angle and he will get that leg.
Right.
Or every time someone ejected a mag, and it's like when you're in the fight, it might seem super fast, but like watching it, because guys are stressed out, they're not reloading fast anymore. Those fucking 1R1 shot timer reloads go right out the window when people are shooting at you. But so it's like you hear a mag, and I'm like watching the other guy. I'm like, oh, dude, close in on him right fucking now. Like, push that fight. And then they didn't get it. That, like, you remember, I was like, same thing. But it's also easy to do that when you're watching it,
right?
Not when you're in it, Yeah, dude. Yeah, I have to take ECQC, and it's one that scares me, honestly. And that's another reason why I have to take it,
bro. For sure. For sure.
What about, have you done much knife stuff yet?
No, I haven't. We were trying to get Craig down here for EWO.
Yeah.
I need to reach out to him and try to get it on the calendar this year. He reached out, maybe it was the year before last, or it might have been last year. And he was like, hey man, like I got something open. Like, I'd love to come down there and do it. But we were already hosting like 2 other people that same weekend. I was like, hey man, like I just don't think we can do it. So, but I really want to take EWO. I've been watching a lot of their footage and stuff like that.
Yeah, the knife stuff, like, I mean, I don't know much about it. There's a Force 4 training down in Florida. It's basically, it's pretty cool. We all got fake knives, and we're just in this dude's shed and stabbing each other to Limp Bizkit. It's crazy.
Just one of those days, man.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like a chainsaw, But like, yeah, there's like these line patterns you need to follow, and like he has his own version of it. And then like one of the things I noticed in all the hand-to-hand type stuff, knife or working with Sonny or in Definitive Training Solutions, it's like as soon as I get wrapped up with a dude, I'm like, oh fuck, I don't know how a human body moves. Because it's like, that's one of those things where it's like the training, it's like for us, it's like take class and then do dry practice, go to range. And it's kind of a cycle of that, For the hand-to-hand guys, it's like go to gym, roll with guy, go to gym, roll with guy. And they're not doing 2 full day classes. They're doing like a couple hours,
right,
like 2 or 3 times a week. And so they that's where it takes a lot of time. And also working with different partners, because if you and I just rolled with each other every day, we might be good at rolling really well, but as soon as we encounter a dude who does shit differently than us, it's going to take us by complete surprise.
Yeah.
Then, okay, what other types of, like, outside of the shooting classes were eye-opening for you?
Man, I think that's pretty much got it. The medical classes, the Force on Force, ECQC, those were all the biggest. Those are the big 3 for me.
Okay. What about the low light? Because you and I did low light building clearing here together. And I think you had said you did some stuff over at Gunsight before that. Yeah,
we did. So low light stuff is interesting. And in fact, I'll say that the biggest thing for me, it was from, speaking of pistols, right? So particularly pistols. Don Edwards described it, I think, best. He said, anytime that you are trying to run your pistol with a flashlight in your other hand, it's all boils down to one-handed shooting. Like, because even a Harry's, like, this is one hand holding the gun still. You get a little bit of stability from that, but it all boils down to one-handed shooting and stuff like that. So that was a big eye-opener for me, even though that pertains to the shooting stuff. But yeah, I mean, low light stuff, it is interesting not being able to see. That's a big one. Like, you're not always guaranteed to be able to see, even if it's daylight, because you may be in a building when the power goes out. Yeah. And I've become, how do you call it? Agnostic to the methods, because it's kind of like it's a lot of, well, maybe that's the way to do it on so much of it. Cause,
you know, like Sonny's a dude who wants like a 300 lumen at max inside a building. And I'm a dude who's like, no, I want the brightest thing in the world. But he'll also can demonstrate some stuff that it's literally like you cannot get it from a video. You could get it in person yourself, but it's like you can shine a bright ass light, and then as soon as you release it, it's like everything's black, and then you start to see a little bit, right? With a super bright ass light, it takes longer to see a little bit. With a real low lumen light, then you can do it quicker. But like you said, even during the day, like for me, a time I think about just walking into my house, honestly, I want my 4,000 lumen light that's just retarded bright, because like in certain rooms, there's no light in there if the lights are off. And even if they were on, there's still dark places, like, you know, a bunk bed, you know, underneath stuff and whatnot, where it's like, I can't, if I shine anything less than that 4,000, it doesn't matter. And then as far as techniques too, because like Brian Sayers is a dude who's like, just leave the damn light on. Because you can't fucking see. Well, that makes sense. But also when I was up in PA doing force on force, it was like we were doing shit where it was like, come in, moving, turn it on, turn it off, and you're shooting while it's dark. And we actually were making good hits. Now, of course, there's variables in that. Right. Good guys, angles, all that stuff. Well, if that guy moves. But I was also like, man, if it's my life, I like this technique, you know. If I'm like, no, it's just that dude, like I would absolutely fucking turn my light off and blast where I saw him a second ago. You know? And especially considering, what's the bad guy doing? Is he walking around with a bright ass Surefire? You know? Right. Like, does he know that he needs to move right now? Like, what's his reaction going to be? You know, I like, and that's where I'm really agnostic to it, and I don't know how like someone could really even consider themselves an expert, even with like all the dudes who've done a lot of stuff. I'm like, dude, there's I from what I've seen, I'm like, there's a lot of different stuff going on. When we did low light building clearing here, I was like, oh fuck, I am the loudest person in the world.
Me too. Yeah, I feel that.
Feet scrape. My foot comes down with a thud, and I knock over everything. I bounce into the wall, and and it's so hard to be fluid with that, you know. And there was shooting, but it was like, well, how many rounds did we fire? Like fucking 10?
Yeah, you know? Not a lot. Not a lot.
And that was like one of the most mentally taxing classes I've done, because you're just trying to figure out shit in the dark, you know.
That for me, it's funny that you brought up the being loud, you know, because before I went out to gun site, because they do a little shoot house thing and everything. But James was like, here, let me give you the quick and dirty. Boom. This is what we're going to do. Right. Talking about building clearing. And I mean, the amount of times he yelled at me in 15 minutes over how loud I was. And he would like, I was frustrating him. I swear I was doing what he said. He's like, hey, you got to walk quieter. You got to do this. And I can't even remember what he said now, but I would do that. And it would still be like all quiet and then plat. And he's like, another thing is, so low light, something that did teach me though, is that carrying around a flashlight is another option for you. Yes. You know, because you hit somebody in the face with 4,000 lumens, like, I mean, even in the daylight, like that's going to give them something to think about while you can beat feet and get out of there, change your position and stuff like that. Yeah. So I have used my flashlight to make a weirdo go away. Right. I'll tell you a full story later, but like, the situation was getting stupid and escalating. And I didn't want to have to shoot someone, but also I couldn't see where the guy was, because there was two boats. His boat light was shining at us, and I'm over here with my hand on my gat and my light down below where he can't see it. And I just made a decision to take over, and it was brighter than his light. He did a veiling glare away. Everyone shut up, and then he left. Yeah. Then the situation got stupid again, but I handled it. Nice. Very good. No one got shot. Right. And I think only I knew I had my gun out. There you go. But no, that low light stuff is an eye opener for that. And really understanding the tool, like how you can use light as a tool outside of the shooting stuff. It's not just for seeing your sights. You can use it for all kinds of things. So signaling,
is a big one. Like I went to meet up with Jay at his place one time, and I'm like, it was when he was living at the marina, and I'm like, where are you? He's like, over here. I'm like, that makes no sense. He goes, hang on, ding ding ding,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Bam.
Yeah, excellent.
What else, man? There's so many different types of training out there. What about CQB? Have you done CQB classes?
I have not done a CQB class yet. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that, I think, teamwork. We could go into that because it goes into CQB also. I have a phrase. I hate teamwork. I just do,
right.
Like, because it's always, people are always upset by stuff, and one dude doesn't understand the thing that was said. There's communication. It's hard. Like, finding a good team is fucking hard.
Right.
In anything, it could be work, football, fucking going into buildings you shouldn't go into and shooting bad guys. All that. So like, but you've done the contractor stuff.
Yes. So I've had like a team-based. Small unit tactics, team-based course.
Yeah, and I haven't done contractor yet, but infantry in the Marine Corps, I can relate to it. So, like, what were like the eye-opening things as far as like teamwork and that you saw?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing that I found when I took that class is how much personalities matter. And that's not to say that you should like tiptoe around or like conform to people, but when you have these personalities that are clashing, it ends up spilling out into the rest of the team. But the interesting thing about it is, though, that like when things aren't busy, so like you're at the team room, like two dudes will be butting heads and just like not getting along at all. And then as soon as you start running drills and stuff like that like they can leave that back there.
That's good.
The bad time is when they can't leave it back there. Yeah. And then like, that's where
my phrase comes in.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, the importance of being willing to not only put the team first, but also not breaking yourself for the team. So the example I like to use is Garrett Mattson, great dude, fucking great shot and everything like that. But he came to SUT, and we have this rule where we have the bag that has like all the extra mags and this and that. It's a heavy bag at the start of the day for sure. And the rule is you can't run with it multiple times. You should always be swapping the bag out. Well, Garrett gets the bag and he does like 4 runs with the bag. And it's one of those things where like he was getting winded and he could have ended up hurting himself. And it's like, I get that you're helping the team out, but you also have to let the team help you out, because if you fucking tear an ACL in a real world, right? Like not just here on the range, but if like the team is counting on you and you're trying to be macho man and you hurt yourself, you go down hard, like now you have hurt the team worse than if you just rotated the bag kind of thing,
Yeah. And like I can relate to that. I in Afghanistan, when we got out of our area of operations and we're back at Leatherneck, the big base, I fell out of my bunk and landed on the side of my leg, and I like couldn't walk right. And I was just sucking it up, and like I got an ass chewing for that,
right.
Which is funny because like every time in training, if you address an injury, you're just a piece of shit. But but they're like, no, you fucking need to see the corpsman. You need to do all their stuff. I'm like, all right. That's a good point. And the personalities, because especially because anytime you go into a group, like, well, I mean, I gotta imagine it's not as bad as it could be, because at least everyone in the class wants to be there. Right. Now, there's still always personality issues. No one fucking gets along 100%. No one agree. And if you, like, another phrase I came up with is, well, maybe it's stolen, I don't know. But if you agree with someone on everything they say, you're not using your brain. If you disagree with if you disagree with everything someone says, you're not using your brain either. Right. So it's like, but that ego thing, and the I'm right and the it has to be done this way, that is a tough thing to deal with. And I won't even say I'm good at that. Right. I try to let go on some stuff, but then even letting go is the wrong answer too.
Can be. Yeah.
Like, have you read any of the books like How to Win Friends and Influence People or anything? That would be a good one for you, especially because you're the head guy here,
right?
That book. There's also, what about the Jocko, like extreme ownership?
No, I've listened to that.
Yeah, like how like he like just goes, all right, why don't you come up with a plan, and then they're into creating the plan because it's theirs. Yeah, stuff like that. That's like something that I really wish I would have been exposed to when I was in the Marine Corps, because like I initially would like yell at people too much and stuff like that. It, like the being a leader, that's super hard,
right?
And even just trying to work with people in that dynamic is super hard. So that's cool too, that small unit tactics gives people an opportunity to like experience that and try to work through it. I think that might be maybe a gear list item. Be like, hey, we encourage you to read this book before you come take this.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. I don't know, but I haven't done the class yet. So it's up to you. And it's up to you guys.
No, I like it. The big one for me was, this was a personality issue.
Yeah.
Right? So you spoke about, typically everybody who paid for the class, they want it to be there kind of thing. So this dude signed up for the class that I was in. And so Nate was like was the TL, so team leader. And, so I can't remember who was the assistant team leader. It might have been me. It might have been Don. Can't remember. Either way, this dude from France shows up, traveled over here and all this stuff. And of course, in that class, you end up having homework, like, You have to keep things moving smoothly, and then each morning you have to give some type of presentation over like this thing your team has planned. So this dude would get on his computer and just browse the internet the whole time. And Nate, day 2, he's like, "Hey man, like, you want to help the team out?" And the dude was like, "No, like, no." He's like, "This is a vacation for me." He's like, "I will never do this back home." He's like, I'm not. And I mean, like they butted heads for a while, and it was one of those things where I think Nate made the right call, and he just had to let it go. Yeah, because that dude wasn't going to give in. Again, he had already decided. He was like, I'm just here to shoot guns. Yeah, like all this other shit, I didn't expect this. Like, I'm just here to shoot guns and have a good time. So you guys figure that shit out.
Oh man, I can't. Yeah, well, I can relate to that too, because I was like, when I got out, I was thinking about becoming a cop, and then BLM happened, and people really started hating cops, and I was like, dude, like, I don't like dealing with like a Marine who won't clean his room on field day. Like, like I don't think I could do the rest of it. Like, I don't think I should, at least.
Nice.
Very cool. What other things? Anything else?
Man, not off the top of my head. I feel like we've been talking for a long time.
Oh yeah, me too. But yeah, I just thought that would be a cool video idea. Like the things outside the shooting stuff, because there's even like here, there's a lot of stuff outside the shooting stuff that really matters. What if you were to give them like a list of classes for tactical response to take on what besides shooting stuff they should do, why don't you give them that? I think that'd be good. Yeah.
Well, I mean, of course, the immediate action medical, the fight, those 2 classes are part of the trifecta for a reason. If you haven't had them, you should. Absolutely. I'll even take it outside of our classes, and because what it boils down to is like, yes, you should have a no bullshit gunfighting course, but you need in all caps a no bullshit trauma course and a no bullshit force on force class, whether that's with us or with somebody else. Like at the end of the day, you have to get outside of the mindset that it is just about putting rounds on paper, because that's not what this is about. If you're carrying your gun for the reasons we carry it, to protect ourselves and the people around us and all that good stuff. But if all you care about is going to the range and, your split times and this and that, then yeah, stick to the shooting classes. But those are the bare minimum of the 2. And then after that, I would say you should do some type of man versus man, like hands-on stuff, whether that's going to enroll in BJJ or something like that, but classes like ECQC, classes like the ones that Sunny offers, where you kind of get to experience that, like, force of wills against each other. That's my recommendation.
Right on. Now, one that it just popped in my head. I'm like, man, we didn't even talk about that. Radio.
Oh yeah, radio.
Right.
Yeah.
So Radio Made Easy. Also, you can look on Bulletin. as Mike Fiore is teaching radio classes also. I think it's through Tremis. I'm not sure, but it's on Bulletin for sure. And yeah, that's one because we don't appreciate it because we don't fucking use it.
Right, exactly.
You know, like if I were down in Florida right now, I would definitely be like, oh shit, I need to make sure this is working because the hurricane's coming. But luckily I'm going to Georgia after this to an Airbnb and we're going on vacation.
Nice.
But yeah, yeah, I like it. And then also just consider too, like Proving Grounds Pistol, the one that we did yesterday, totally different than the fight. It is a gunfighting class, but against each other. You know, so
we talked a bunch about that on the Patreon stream yesterday. Yeah. But just to touch on it real quick, because we're already doing the video, so we might as well plug your shit too, right? That was such a good class. And what was very interesting about it, we talked about it on the live stream, where in the fight, the role players are not trying to
burn you down.
They're not trying to dominate and quote unquote win, because they are specifically told this class is about the student. It's not about you as the role player. Don't shoot them a bunch. If one round teaches the lesson, why give them two, kind of thing. Whereas in this, you are going up against like a dude who is trying to use all the techniques that he can against you, and you're trying to get the better of each other at the highest ability that you can.
Yeah, and you know what? The way it just clicked in my head. Yeah, this time it's about you. Yeah, this time it is for you. It's also for the other guy, but like you're supposed to be a good partner, as in don't let him fucking shoot you.
Right,
like, you're not being good for them if you do that. And yeah, it was. Thank you guys for letting me do it up here and for helping me with it, because there was a lot of like, because I was like, I'm psyched to be able to do that, because now I've got all these other instructors helping me and giving me ideas and giving me their input. But yeah, and hopefully we run it.
Oh, I know we're going
following a fighting pistol soon. So
yeah, I know we're going to. Just because I want to do it again.
Good.
Cool. You got any closing thoughts for him?
Man,
plug yourself, all that stuff.
Yeah, Combatter Training, combattertraining.com. I got like 30,000 subscribers on YouTube, so there's a lot of videos there you would like. Instagram, I don't really take too seriously because it doesn't grow. But if you want to see some funny shit, I might delete it all, but there's some funny shit on there. That's it. I'm for the guys that love my gear. I might just only make it for students soon. Because I'm trying to just become a traveling instructor and just only do classes. Man, I don't like sitting at a sewing machine all day. If someone else wants to do that for me and I just tell them what to make and invent stuff, that'd be cool. But I don't want to, I want to do more of this, more videos. And I still like do a lot of classes that I take, but I want to teach a lot more. But yeah, it's like I've done probably like 150 hours of classes this year.
Damn.
You know,
a lot of training.
And I got 3 more days coming up when Sonny comes down to Florida. So but yeah, thank you for doing this. I love doing videos with you. So I was like, I watched the podcast we did together where you interviewed me. I listened to it. I was like, man, I had so much fun. I hope he wants to do that again.
Well, here we are. Dreams do come true. No, that's awesome. So yeah, guys, I think that at the end of the day, from both of us, something that you need to take away from this, if you could take anything away from it, is again, it's not, if you are serious about this craft, about this martial art, you have to branch outside of just going to the range and shooting guns and doing what makes you feel better. So anyway, remember guys, your responsibility to be ready for the fight never ends.